Hello friends, welcome back to another book video. Apologies that the lighting is going to be super whack in this video compared to normal because it is 7 o'clock in the morning. If you've been keeping up with my vlogs, I have just started full-time work. I also have a 10-month-old. Life's a little bit crazy, but I really wanted to still get this video up for this month, and this is the only time I have. So yeah, we're just gonna get straight into it because in the month of April I read 4 books. I really enjoyed them all. I actually had a good month as far as reading goes. I just didn't have the time to read as much as I wanted to. Easter was great. Like, I read on my way up to camping. Ziggy, no. I love you. Mwah. Yes, I love you. Get back. Come on, drop. I read a little bit whilst I was camping for Easter. Like, I read on the way up and pretty much read an entire book over 2 days of like driving and stuff, so that was great. I had the best time camping. Then I got back from camping and went straight into full-time work, so life's just been busy. And I've still read every day, which I'm really proud of, but sometimes it's literally been like 15 minutes at the end of the day, so I just haven't had the time to read much. But I still got 4 books in, so I got my goal. My goal for the year is 50, so I've sort of averaged it out. If I read a book a week, I'm going to get 50 books this year, which, to be honest, I would love to have the time to read more, but I just don't, and that's okay. And I was talking to Rachel Catherine about it, actually. We were voice noting yesterday, and one of the girls we follow, and she does like heaps and heaps of book videos, her name, Steph Bower, or Steph Bauer, it's like Boer, like B-O-H-E-R, I think, like Boer, I don't know. We don't know how to say her name, basically. But we were chatting and she read like 30, like, she was like, oh, I didn't get much reading in this week. I read maybe like 11 or 12 books. And I was like, 11 or 12? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? But then also I'm pretty sure Rach read like 12 this month. So she's also smashed it. But had a really good reading month. So if you enjoy these sorts of books, and if you don't already watch Rachel Catherine's book videos, she has heaps of them, like anywhere from book wrap-ups to book hauls to her favourite book. She recently just posted her favourite books of all time. She just has all sorts. And so if you're not already following Rachel Catherine, she is a beautiful little Aussie girl. She lives in Brisbane, and her voice is so relaxing. Like, she's so soft and gentle, and she's just the sweetest thing ever. So if you don't already follow her for book content, she does other vlogs and all sorts, but obviously you're on a book video now. So for more book videos, I would definitely check out her channel. She is just the best, and yeah, she's just beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna get started. I've just rambled for like 5 minutes and I haven't even started talking about the 4 books I've read this month. So the first book I read was 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And yes, I loved it, but I do think it was a bit hyped and I had higher expectations for it. And Rachel and I were actually talking about this. I get scared to read books that have such big hype because I worry that I'm not going to love them like everyone else does, or that I just have such a high expectation for them that if it's not perfect, I'm like, wasn't amazing. But I did love The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I would probably rate it like a 4 or a 4.5, so not a 5-star for me. But I loved it. I read it quite quickly. It was really enjoyable. Drop. Good boy. It was very enjoyable. I feel like everyone in the world has read this book already. I was pretty late to the party. But I also only got back into reading like 6 months ago, so I feel like I'm still working through like the top books that are all over the internet at the moment. But if you have not read Evelyn Hugo and don't know what it's about, it's by Taylor Jenkins Reid. She is an amazing author. I'm loving all of her books so far. And basically it's about a famous woman. It's set back in the 50s, but it's not actually set in the 50s. Like, I feel like it's really hard to make sound good by saying it's set in the 50s, because that's so not my vibe. I'm not into like old Hollywood, but it is old Hollywood. But the actual book is set in 2018, and a journalist gets approached by Evelyn Hugo to write her autobiography. So this girl goes to her house and they chat, and she learns the story of Evelyn's life, and it includes 7 husbands, but there's some plot twists in there, and you just hear everything from like Evelyn's perspective, because obviously through the news and stuff that's like, 7 husbands, sis, calm down. And so you hear from Evelyn's perspective, and she basically runs through the story of her life with this girl. And it was really, really good. It was super interesting. I do highly, highly recommend, and it was really good. But yeah, not quite a 5-star for me. But I don't know if that's because I had expectations that were too high or not, but that's where I'm at. The next book I read was a 5-star, and again, everyone and their dog has read this book, so I'm sorry that I'm so late to the party, but it was Verity by Colleen Hoover. And if you read Colleen Hoover's books, they're very romance with a big plot twist. They're very like coming of age. They're very dramatic, and there's always a beautiful big love story, and your heart gets broken and put back together and blah blah blah. That's her. Verity was different. There was a bit of romance in it, like there was a romance, but it's a mystery thriller genre. It's not a romance, really. There is a romantic story there, but that's not the preface of the story. But it was so good. I loved it. It was just, I don't even know how to explain. I guess similar to Evelyn Hugo in the respect that it's about someone writing about someone else. So this girl goes to basically get sought out to finish off. So far out, I'm so bad at explaining sometimes. So Verity is an author and has a big famous series of books. Basically, she's unable to finish those books, and so they reach out to an author to come and stay with them, and she is going to finish the stories for Verity. Like, she's going to shadow write these books for her. So when she's in the process of going through all of Verity's notes, she finds something else, and that is like the whole catalyst of the story, basically. And it's just really cool, basically. I don't want to explain any more than that because I don't want to spoil it. But to me, this was a 5-star. I literally read it on the way up to the Flinders Ranges. I think I read it in 2 sittings. Like, I read it pretty much the whole way up to the Flinders Ranges, and then the next day I was like, I know we're driving, but I'm going to keep reading because I'm obsessed with this book. And it was just amazing and a page turner, and I just could not get enough of it. So I highly, highly, highly recommend Verity. I know you've probably all read it already, because who hasn't? I feel like I'm the last person in the world to read it, but it was amazing. Then the next book I read was Even When I'm Gone by Nicole Fiorina. It was the second book in the Stay With Me trilogy. It's on Kindle Unlimited, which is why I read it, because it was free. And the series, I spoke about it last month. First book about this girl called Mia, and she goes and is living in this university, but it's like a reformatory, like they've all been sent there by their parents, but they're like not children, so it's kind of confusing because they're like 19, 20, and they're like at uni, but like a reformatory. They all have these rooms that lock at night time. Like, it's really weird. And basically there's this love story that's going on with her and this guy Ollie, and at the end of the first book, basically they get split up, and the second book is them sort of finding their way back together, but also dealing with their big demons. And Ollie is, I can't really explain it without ruining the first book. So basically it was good. Not as good as the first book, but apparently the third book is even better. So it was good. I think I rated it like a 3.5 or a 4, something like that. I rated it a 3-star because it wasn't as good, I didn't find, as the first story. But yeah, from what I've been told, I was chatting to one of you about the books when I posted on Instagram about it, and the next one is supposed to get really, really good. So yeah, very toxic relationship vibes, very wild. Like, a lot happens in these books. First book, so much happened, and a lot happened in the second book too. Like, there's just so much going on, and it's really good, and I do highly recommend it, like, for the series. And hopefully I will finish the third book this month and be able to, you know, do one a month. The last book I read was The Last Thing He Told Me, which was like a thriller mystery as well. Bit out of my comfort zone, but it was okay. It is by Laura Dave, and I rated it a 3-star. It's about a woman who lives with her husband and his daughter, so her stepdaughter, and basically the husband disappears. So the story is all about them trying to track down the husband / this girl's dad, and basically all these things come out of why he's disappeared, what's happened, where he's gone, blah, blah, blah. So it's interesting. I obviously won't spoil any more than that because that literally would ruin the whole book. But it was alright. Ziggy, out of the way. It wasn't the best book ever, but it was good. Like, I would recommend reading it, especially if you are into that sort of like mystery sort of style book. Like, it was written really well. I just wasn't obsessed with the characters. They weren't bad, but yeah, just one of those books. It was good to read, but nothing exceptional. And I would recommend it if you're looking for a mystery sort of thrillery book to read, but it was nothing groundbreaking, nothing overly exciting. Now, what I wanted to do at the end of these videos was also add in my TBR for the next month. So the books I'm hoping to read in May. Ziggy, get out of the way. The first book I want to read this month, which I have started reading as when I'm filming this, and that is Most of All You by Mia Sheridan. Now, I also had this discussion with Rach because I have not read Archer's Voice. It is on my list of books to read, but I felt like I wanted to start with a different one of Mia Sheridan's books just because Archer's Voice has such a hype. I'm nervous to read it, basically. I'm scared. It's Rachel's favourite book, like, of all time. Like, it's her favourite book, and I'm scared to read it because I want to love it that much that I'm scared if I'm not obsessed with it. If you know, you know. Like, reading off recommendation is like the best thing ever, but also the scariest thing ever. Because if someone doesn't love what you've recommended, it's sad. And so I get scared reading other people's recommendations. But, so instead I'm starting with Most of All You by Mia Sheridan. And look, I've started, it's good. The second book I want to read through, I'm only setting myself 4 books. Like, I have a goal that I want to reach 4 books, but I have more on my TBR because I want to mood read. You know, if I don't read all of them, that's so fine. And if I pick out of these, like, I want to read 4 books out of these. The next one I want to read is Now Open Your Eyes, which is the 3rd story in the Stay With Me trilogy. I've read the other 2. I want to read the next one. The 3rd book on my TBR is Daisy Jones and the Six. I have started reading it. I haven't loved it so far, but I feel like everyone's obsessed, so we'll see how we go. The 4th book I would love to read is Losing Hope by Colleen Hoover. I've read Hopeless. It was a 5-star to me, and I absolutely loved it. And from what I've heard, Losing Hope is even better. It's basically the same story, but from his perspective. So we'll see how we go with that. And then I really want to finish A Court of Thorns and Roses. I have been attempting to read this for a little while now. Thanks, Ziggy. Fantasy is not my genre at the moment, but I really want to get back into fantasy because I used to read a lot of fantasy when I was younger, and I really want to fall in love with the world and the characters. And I know that from what I've heard from everyone, you just need to get past the first half of A Court of Thorns and Roses, and then once you've sort of, you know, the world and understand the characters, then the story starts. So I just need to push through. Like, I'm only in 100 pages in. I feel like I just need to get through the first book and I'm then going to love it. But that is the next book I want to read this month. I don't even know how many I just said, maybe 5. And then if I get time, if I'm in the mood, all those sorts of things, I also would love to read Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. It's on Kindle Unlimited. It's like 500 pages. It's intimidating, but I know the story is amazing. So yeah, that's really high on my list too. And there was one more book that I probably won't. This is probably going to end up being like my next 2 months worth of books. But I also really want to read Addicted for Now, which is number 3 in the Addicted/Calloway Sisters books. So we'll see how I go. I think I just named off like 6 or 7 books that I want to read this month, but I only will have time for 4. So we'll see how we go. But I'm excited. I feel like there's so many books that I want to read at the moment. I'm really inspired and excited. I'm reading like in my lunch breaks at work and all sorts. So we will see how we go. I would love to get like 5 books read, but I just don't think it's obtainable at the moment with my work schedule. But we shall see how we go. They are the books I read in April and the books I wish to read in May. Again, if you want more book content, because I can only create so much and it's not enough, Rachel Catherine is your girl. She's got heaps and it's great. I have binge watched her book videos this year. So I'm gonna go because I've been talking forever. Ziggy, sit down. Have a kiss. Oh, you're crazy. Okay, I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are not already, and Ziggy, drop. And if you follow me, if you follow me on Instagram, I upload what I have read live time. So I don't ever put what I'm reading because I don't like people's opinions butting in whilst I'm in the middle of reading something. It makes me nervous. But I always post what I have just finished reading and do a really little star rating on my Instagram stories. So if you want to join me on Instagram, it's just at Kirsty Virgo. I really have to go. I have to get ready for work and wake up my daughter and get to childcare and all of that. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video, which will be very soon. Bye.